So that started. Audio check 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you think, Larry? Do an audio check so people
Check
can hear you.
one. Check one. Truck drivers are morons. Check 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, that's what he said. Going live at 8 o'clock for those of you just joining us. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're trying to up our game here a little bit, people. You know, we want our.
It's a heavy haul too. It's a big lift.
Larry up 5%. Okay. Now about, let's see, from minus 1.4. Let's go to minus 1.
You need me louder?
No, don't mess with
Okay.
anything.
Okay.
I'm just, Sean's listening to us right now. So,
okay. Hey, Sean, we need you, buddy.
I moved him up 0.4 dB.
All right. Can we announce that we actually have a professional now? Will Sean own up to that?
He all right. I'm gonna move him up another half.
Sean's like, so don't mention my name.
Yeah.
He goes, please don't mention my name.
Okay. I got Larry up another half dB. So,
all right.
Give him another audio check here, brother.
Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3.
All right. He said that sounds good.
All right.
Yeah. Now he may want to be completely anonymous because.
Yeah, I exactly. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll let him stick his own neck out. Okay. We won't put him on that. We won't do that to him. We'll just refer to Sean. Okay.
If that's really his name.
Right.
I didn't do a background check on him, so
we didn't vet him, did we?
Right. Dwayne Hillsman says he's been waiting all week for this.
Hi, Dwayne. How you doing, man?
Dwayne, brother, I think you might need some more exciting things added to your life.
Yeah, you have what we call an LTL, a low thrill factor, LTF, a low thrill factor. Where are you seeing? I don't see this comment. Is this a Facebook comment or YouTube or?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the TikToks.
Well, why don't you try to open? What are you looking at TikTok on?
On my iPad.
Okay, why don't you try to open Restream on your?
Well, I tried that. Restream doesn't like me anymore for some reason. It doesn't let me open.
Okay.
I don't want to dick with it and screw this all up. So I haven't really dealt with it. So.
Okay. Well, I'll let you know what the YouTubes are saying.
Okay. The TikToks are usually the most inflammatory, so I like watching them. So.
Right. Yeah. I haven't seen that. What's that thing we used to see all the time? It said, TikTok had filtered comments out to protect the community.
The community. I saw one. It may have been when I was watching you though, but I did see one of them show up. Yeah, I think I was worried about you. You said something about killing a dog or something, and I said hush. And I think it came up then. Talking about killing your pet or something.
Well, listen, I don't know.
That may have been a jest. Maybe it was one of your kids. I'm not sure, but.
Oh yeah, because the stupid dog starts barking. Yeah, because he thinks he's a German Shepherd and he weighs like 12 pounds.
Yeah, I got 2 of those. Together, they don't weigh 12 pounds.
All right. The mighty Phil Freese has checked in, said audio is on point. All right. It's 8 o'clock. Good evening.
It's 8 o'clock in Kentucky and West Virginia, so it must be Friday night.
It is.
What's up, Lunatic? What's up, Lunatic Nation?
It's August 9th, 2024. We're back with you for another episode of the podcast. We're live everywhere. TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, which is like shouting into an empty room because nothing ever happens over there. But we're live there every week if you wanted to watch us on Twitter. So we're going to do a financial report for you this evening. I did one Wednesday night on the TikTok and had a lot of good feedback on it. So I think this is something we're going to carry forward. we're also want to talk about leasing tonight because I've noticed lots of times we get people asking they're strange questions, but I think we need to clarify.
We contradict ourselves because we talk about there's a difference between a lease purchase and leasing your truck to a carrier. Those are both leases,
Right.
but they're vastly different things. So we're going to try to clarify that a little bit tonight so that we don't think we're being hypocritical when we talk about that.
Yeah. Have we had anything exciting happen this week? I was trying to think, kind of
anything
the
you just think exciting? Exciting. Well, for us, exciting is not a good thing. Okay. Normal for us is a much better life. Okay. So no, we haven't had anything too exciting.
Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. We did have some C.H. Robbins chicanery. Robinson.
Yeah, you had that. I wasn't even aware until I saw your
TikTok.
screenshot. The last time we really had exciting was with Barb, but that's been a week or two ago. But
so
I think the thing we're the most looking forward to right now, though, honestly, is that we're really getting geared up for what Landstar calls BCO days, which is basically a truck driver appreciation, or what they call BCOs, which is their business capacity owners, as owner operators who are leased to Landstar. They have a BCO appreciation. They call them BCO days every year, usually in this time of year in the fall, and they move it around the country so everybody's got a chance to get to it easily. But it's typical truck driver appreciation, food, giveaways, all that sort of stuff. But it gives us a chance to get with our people, and people that aren't our people, by the way, for a few days, and just sort of have a chance to see what's going on in the world and continue to to offend people and be controversial, and we have a good time with it.
Hey, do you remember in Memphis what question it was that you asked? Where Rocco just all the color drawn out of his face, and he said, "Thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Larry." Yeah, I do remember that. It had to do with qualifications and the qualification. Back then, we were still using qualification centers. We hadn't gone to the qualification hellhole that we have now. But no, I sort of kicked a hornet's nest there, and
you did,
and he didn't really appreciate me bringing that up in front of everybody. I've got a bunch more of them this year, but I'm probably not going. I'm probably going to just do it one-on-one, just because I'm trying to keep a little relationship with him going there. But we've got several hornet's nests we could kick this year. One of them I am going to ask out loud is, what the hell is a DFO?
Yeah, we've heard about that. I want to have some meetings with some technical people. I'm hoping that they bring a truckload of the nerds that they keep in the basement that does all the technological stuff, because boy, have I got a bunch of questions.
We've met one or two of them along the way. There is a I don't even know his name. There's a guy, though, who has developed that beta thing, that I've shared with you on my online.
Oh yeah,
he always wants my input on that, and I always tell him, look, the one thing that you don't do that I want you to do is I want you to have a comparison. I want to know what my average trucks are versus what everybody else's are. You have that data, share it. Yeah. And he looks at me like, why'd you need to know that? I said, because it's a benchmark. It lets us know how we're doing performance-wise against everybody else. It's not that we're nosy. We just want to know how we stand. And the only reason we want to know is because I know that we stand at the top. And I just want them to know that we know that. Okay.
Right.
So.
Right, exactly.
But anyway, I always have fun with that nerd because he will never do it. And he can't figure out why I want them to do it. But I'm like, this is all beautiful and everything, except tell me what my average truck is compared to what the average BCO. You can do it different ways. You can do it the average BCO. You can do it the average fleet. I don't care how you do it. Just give me some numbers that compare what we do to everybody else, so that I know that you know how we kick everybody else's ass.
Right. It certainly would be an interesting metric to see, because they show us interesting. And honestly, I have been on the capacity portal a handful of times, But from a
And the thing
management
about the capacity
standpoint,
board, we here's the thing: we already have all that information. There's nothing on there that we could not produce. Now it's kind of handy to have it the way they do it, but we have that. I mean, we have every load track. We have every bit of that information, and that's why I told them. I said, "Look, this is all great, but we know all this. Now we might not have it in this format, but we could put it in that format. It wouldn't be all that difficult. But show me what I don't know. Show me how I compare to the other numbnuts or the
so
numbnut. You know,
so to give some context to what he's talking about, Landstar has a new online interface that they're working on. I figured it would be released by now, but it's called the Capacity Portal. So if you're at Landstar, you can tell that there's a difference between what you see on Landstar 1 and what you see on the desktop.
we can compare our trucks. It rates our trucks. You know, 1 through whatever, but it doesn't rate us against anybody else's trucks.
Okay. So what if you're looking at Landstar 1, you see kind of a different format than what you see on the current Landstar Online. And this thing has okay, for example, if you're at Landstar last week, you saw an absolute meltdown happen when they probably too quickly released some capability where it would take if 4 loads were posted from Charlotte to Houston by different agents, well, it collapses those into one, which is handy because it reduces clutter. But the way they did it, it didn't work well. They didn't haul all the bugs out of it.
That's because they didn't put the red asterisk back on there. Okay, the
Right.
holy red asterisk. That's the question you should ask. Okay.
So it has a lot of capabilities that we don't have now. It will show you market trends. It will show you things about markets. It will show you your revenue. I mean, it'll show you how much revenue you're getting from agencies. You know, so we'll be able to see the agent that we work with the most by revenue. So it's really handy.
Areas
But
that we go
every time,
to, it looks at the different areas we go to, and then we can compare that. How much do we do in the Northeast compared to the Southwest and things like that? You know, it's just a bunch of nerdy numbers. That's all it is.
um, I've lost my train of thought. Well, let's move on to something else. So anyway, so yeah, we're looking forward to going to BCO
Before
days.
I forget about it, I need to spread some roses and kudos here because my man here was the guest on another podcast last night. What's it called, Chris? Miles and Mentors? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
And my boy, he represented us well last night. And you guys need to find that whatever that podcast. I think it's called Miles and Mentors or Mentors and Miles. Not sure, but it was I think it was one of the earliest podcasts that this gentleman had done. I think Chris may have been episode number 2 or 3 or something like that. But it was you know, it was very well done. I mean, lots of kudos to the host. I thought he did a great job, but Chris made him look good because Chris gave him some information that is going to make that podcast very, very popular. But I just wanted to say that, Chris, you did an outstanding job last night. I was so proud of you last night.
Thank you. Okay, so let's see. Let's see here. Well, let's go on to the numbers. Let's talk about the numbers because we did that Wednesday night, and it was well received. And this is something that we started doing really back in about March or April. We talked about this on the show last week, but I want to recap just a little bit for anybody that didn't hear that. When the drivers, you know, we try not to overload them with information when they're early in the program. but we want them to always be thinking forward to when they are the operator of the truck. And
The owner of
so,
the truck. Yeah.
right. We want them to be thinking forward to that time when they're not just the employee, they are the person that's doing it all. And so we came up with the idea to present to them every week the numbers that the truck makes, including their pay, including all of the expenses. And at first, we didn't have a maintenance component to that because it's, maintenance can change every week. It can be high one week and low the next. We've
And since we don't write all those checks, we didn't know some of those numbers. So we didn't have
Right.
that index to put it. Now we kind of have a number that we're using that is a projection. It's really not the exact number. It's a projection based on historical data. But we didn't have that before.
So we did a calculation to come up with a general number for maintenance that we could use to give a more reasonable outlook. And regardless of what your weekly maintenance cost is, there should be maintenance savings anyway, right?
Exactly.
I dug through about 3 years of invoices because, as y'all know, we keep everything, right? There's no document that we don't keep. And so I was able to go through our digital files, and I did an analysis of 2 old trucks and 2 new trucks, and I came up with 25 cents a mile given the state of things, maintenance and all that. So let me put this on the screen here. I got to do it on both platforms. Okay, so what we have here is, so these are the numbers for August 6th of 24. Our top truck, and I'm going to just go through the top line, and as you can go, you can kind of see the numbers.
You can screenshot this if you want to and go over it as much as you want to.
So the top truck did 2,408 loaded miles, 206 deadhead miles. The gross revenue. Now, remember, gross revenue is before Landstar's cut. This is what the customer would be paying, $11,820. Net revenue, $8,215. The driver's 25% of accessorials and line haul, $2,662.50. We have a payroll cost in there of 11% because that's what it costs to have an employee. If you are making this kind of money that we're showing you here, you better be on an S corp. I mean, you better be on an LLC taxed as an S corp. You're going to get your head tore off in taxes. So this would be an example of paying yourself a reasonable salary. Fixed expenses this week. As we go through this every week, you're going to see this fixed expenses column kind of go up and down. This week, the physical damage insurance for each truck came out, and it ranges anywhere from $150 to about $250. Other expenses, these are comm data fees, scanning fees, or a scale, or if they bought
miscellaneous stuff. Yeah.
And then we have the fuel cost. So here in this first column, you see profit before maintenance, $2,898.49. So that is all of your net revenue.
After all expenses except maintenance.
Yeah.
Including driver.
All right. So we're going to get over here to cost per mile, and I've got to move. I'm trying to do TikTok and YouTube at the same time. So the cost per mile before maintenance for that truck was $1.81. Now, then coincidentally, this is the truck with the worst fuel mileage.
Not coincidentally, by the way, cause and effect.
Yeah. So this is the truck with the highest worst fuel economy and highest fuel cost. All right. So our gross rate per mile for this truck, again, before any deductions, $4.52. I'm on the wrong screen here. Okay. Net rate per mile. This is after Landstar steals all of our money, $3.14. And then I've got this in here so that we can take this cost per mile of $1.81 and subtract No, I'm sorry, that's wrong. The net rate per mile, $3.14, minus the cost, $1.81, minus the 25 cents gets us to $1.08. So the net rate per mile after all expenses were paid on this truck was $1.08. That was $1.08 per mile that this truck made in profit for the week.
Let me restate that, because I think you left a couple words out. $1.08 is what that truck made after all expenses and after putting 25 cents a mile away for maintenance, expected maintenance expense. So including the 25 cents per mile maintenance savings account, it still made $1.08 per mile net profit after everything.
Oh, yeah. Now, let me get back. Gosh, I got too many screens. Okay. Now, we have, let me adjust this one more time. All right. So we have our net after maintenance of $1.08. So if you multiply that by all of the miles, empty and loaded, you get $2,835.98. So if you take that $2,835.98 and you add it over here to the driver pay of $2,662.50, you get a week profit after all expenses are paid, the driver is paid, the fuel is paid, there's maintenance being saved for $5,498.48. So we can go down through here and see.
So if you were the driver of that truck and the owner of that truck, that's what you would have made in that week, $5,500.
Yeah. Now, if we look at the bottom truck, it's red, right? So it went negative, right? Well, that truck only did 1,440 miles. So it only did 2 loads. It ran part-time that week, right? What I find interesting about that is even after basically a negative, it still had a $435 positive, because it still paid the driver, right? It still paid the driver something. So the driver's getting paid regardless. And I want all y'all drivers to understand this. When you're working for a business and you're some kind of employee, you always get paid, right? The person that owns a business may not get paid. The person that owns a truck may not get paid, but the driver always gets paid before anybody else gets paid. So when we look at our profit per truck, all the top 6 trucks all ran full time, and each one made at least $3,000 for that week. So if you annualize that out to 50 weeks, you get to at least $150,000. Let me get back to here. Do you gentlemen deal with
this? Is running general freight at Landstar, typically off the load board, or a lot of it off the load board, and most of it is regular dry van freight. Now some of it's platform, but
yeah. Well, the top,
and we have them separate. You can see which one's platform.
Yeah, the top two were platform. The third one was van. The fourth was platform. So 3 of the top 4 were platform, and platform rates are better now.
Right. Right. And let me add something to that. In our organization, only the best, really, really, really elite drivers are offered the chance to drive platform. So in our case, it's not just the rates. We have our best talent driving those trucks. They make the least mistakes. They get the best fuel mileage. They make the best decisions. So it's not, for us, it's not just the rates. It's the fact that those are our best students that are given the chance to drive those platforms. So that kind of yaws this a little bit too, Chris. So.
On TikTok, we're asked, do you gentlemen deal with flatbread drivers?
Flatbread? We deal with inbred drivers and every other kind of driver. I don't know about flatbread,
but yes, we have of the 7 trucks we have running right now, 4 of them are van and 3 of them are platform.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a good. We'll
Ferris,
start calling it. We'll start calling them the flatbread
the flatbread division.
division.
Yeah. Ferris Ibrahim says, if
I
I
like
have a
I like
brand
the
new
inbred division better. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
if I have a brand new semi truck, can I invest it with your company, and how much will it generate? No,
No.
Ferris.
Answer
No,
is
you
no.
cannot. Absolutely not. We have a very select group of people that provide trucks for us. Very, very, very select. So please don't just go ahead and delete that message you're starting to tell me about all your trucks that you have available, because I don't want it. But all these trucks are paid for.
We do not we have a very, 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 very specific type of truck owner that we're looking for, and it would not be anyone that's going to go out and get a brand new truck. That eliminate you immediately from consideration.
Yeah.
So no offense, but
It shows you don't know how to do math.
right.
Okay. So the TikToks, they're not as rowdy as they have been. I figured there'd be a lot.
It's still
more
early.
Yeah.
It's only been 23 minutes. Give them a little chance to drink some more.
Well, like we have said from the beginning, if you will do it how we do it. If you do what we do, you can, as an owner operator in a paid for truck,
in this market, at
In
a
this
carrier
market.
that's taking 35% of your money, to use your all's words, at these rates, working with the brokers and the freight we have today, you can still make 150,000 plus a year doing regular freight if you just do things the way we do it.
Right.
Um,
And these
now,
numbers every week we're going to
and this is not just a special week. We're going to do this every week. You know, this is a regular week for us. So, now I understand something here. Part of the reason why our profit is what it is because we concentrate 100% of our attention on lowering our cost. So it allows us the opportunity to haul freight at the rates they are today and still make profit with the truck, because we don't pay for brand new trucks, number one. And number two, we don't buy anything and go in debt to do it. And we control our costs. We have we don't pay attention to the rate per mile and all the problems that you guys think the brokers are causing you. We concentrate on the things that we can control, and that is what we're paying for fuel, what we're paying for tires, the tires we're buying, what we're paying for maintenance, all these things that we can control. That's what we spend our time concentrating on, and that's what generates this profit. Now, if we spend all of our time worrying about what the broker made, might be a different story. But I couldn't. Number one, I could care less what they made, and I could not possibly tell you what they made. If they made more than this, more power to them. Doesn't matter. We made the decision to get in the trucking business, not to get in the broker business. So I'm not going to look at my situation and go, wait a minute, I decided about a truck, but now I wish I was a broker because look what they make. You know, just be a broker if that's what you want to be.
Right. So there's a question: what is your target per mile rate? We run in Canada. Things seem to be quite a bit different here. Oh, they're quite a bit different up there.
Yeah,
we do not.
Yeah, they're like your crazy aunt's attic up there. Okay.
We do not have a target rate per mile. Does not exist. Rate per mile is an afterthought. Revenue per day is how we book loads. Right. We do not book loads on rate per mile. We book loads based on revenue per day. So if a load pays $7 a mile and goes
4 miles,
and it goes 100 miles, it's useless to us because that's half of our daily rate. Our daily rate is $1,450. Our rate for a 2-day load is $2,900. Our rate for a weekend load is $2,175. So it can be this amazing rate per mile, but it may not be enough to cover the truck's daily revenue needs. And so we have an $8,000 target for revenue in a week. We have a $1,450 revenue per day for one load, pick up today, deliver tomorrow. Now, Could we do? Sometimes we book a $900 load today to get moving. Yes. But at that point, the rate per mile still doesn't matter, because now I'm going to have enough. I'm going to have $2,000 tomorrow to put with that $900 to get my $2,900 for 2 days. What's the oldest truck you should run? Most companies will not take old trucks. We run 99 to 07, preferably. We have a 17 and we have an 18.
All companies do not have that policy. Okay.
Right.
You can find a company that will let you run an old truck. Landstar will let you run an old truck.
Landstar is one of them.
There is no minimum at Landstar, as long as it will hold and have an electronic engine, so you can hook an ELD to it, that you can run it. Those are the decisions those are the things we think about when we make the decision to be at Landstar. Okay, is because it allows us to do business the way we want to do it. No, there's companies that we can't go to because we run old trucks. We just don't go there. No big deal.
Right.
We just take it becomes no longer part of the decision making process. But we don't change what we're going to do in order to be at that particular carrier.
Right. We have a question. Have $20,000 available. How can I start driving in your organization as a flatbed driver? You go to blueribbonlogistics.com. On the front page, you'll see a link for the masterclass. And the first thing you're going to do is read every word of that masterclass, and it's going to ask you a lot, it's going to give you a lot of information that will answer a lot of questions that you have. So you go to blueribbonlogistics.com, you click on a masterclass, you read every word of that. Once you've read every word of that, you click apply for the masterclass, and that will send you to a page where you'll answer a bunch of questions. And when you're done with that, we will read your answers to those questions, and we'll decide whether or not we want to extend an invitation to you for a Zoom interview. After we have the Zoom interview, which will be horrifying for you probably, because we're going to ask you a lot of really, really, really difficult questions. And then if we extend an invitation to you to join the program, you're going to start pulling a van. That's where you're going to start. We're going to teach you the basics of our program and the basics of business while you're pulling a van for probably 60 days at least. Then, if by pulling a van, you have demonstrated to us the ability to listen and be coachable, and you
can read and do math and comprehend.
And
remember, our platform program here are our elite drivers. Do not discount the word elite. We have the most elite platform dispatcher there is at Landstar. And if you think Chris and I are hard ass in particular, wait till you meet him. But you cannot come. We're not going to guarantee you that you're going to come here and drive platform. You can come here and earn the opportunity. And then if you do get to do that here, you're going to be with some really, really, really good teachers, very, very good teachers. And you'll make very, very good money. You'll learn a lot more. What you learn is a lot more valuable than the money you're going to make. But you're going to make good money here. But you can't come here with the idea that you're going to be a platform driver. Here, you have to earn that privilege. And you earn that by being a good student, listening, being coachable. Remember, you're coming here not to be a platform driver. You're coming here to learn how to be in business, how to get in business, how to stay in business. And if that business happens to be a platform trucking business, more power to you. But that's not number one what we do here. What we do here is teach you how to get in business. And you know what you have to do the most to get in business is you have to change you. And so if you're willing to do that and you're willing to be changed to become a business person, platform is a possibility for you. But that's not the reason to be here.
Would we accept a 2020 Cascadia? Possibly. I prefer it not be an auto shift because those trucks are just so risky and so expensive to work on. But it's probably hard.
We may have. I mean, look, we may have to take it if it's an automatic and we have an automatic restricted person we want in the program. But other than that, we don't want it to be an automatic because it raises the maintenance risk on it 10 times. And even then, we're not going to take it or not take it because it's a 2020. That's not going to make our decision. You are going to make the decision, not your truck. Not you, but our opinion of you is what's going to make the decision. If we like you a lot, the 2020 becomes immaterial. If you're a jerk and we don't want to work with you, you could come with a 2007 Columbia, exactly what we want, and we would tell you no. So, again, I hope I didn't offend you, but probably did. Oh, well.
What are specifics that you look for in a truck owner that you will work with to supply you a truck? A lot of them have happened by accident. There was a time in the beginning where we put out the call and a few people answered the call. We kept a couple of them. We got rid of a couple of them. Others came along. Right now, we have enough trucks, so we don't need any trucks. But what I want in a partner, in a truck owner, is someone that's going to engage and be a part of the experience for the driver. The part of the benefit of being an owner for us is that you don't have to answer the phone in the middle of the night. We have a management team that takes care of everything. So you don't have to, you don't have to, actively work in the business, but we do love it when owners are interactive, and kind of part of the driver's experience. We really like that.
Let me pull some things back because you're making this way too attractive. Okay. Number one, if you don't have any trucking experience, we're not going to take your truck. If you go buy a truck as an investment, we're not going to take the truck. I don't care what you buy. Okay. It's not going to happen. We're looking for people who are in this industry, preferably were drivers, understood after they tried a couple of times that hiring drivers is not something everybody's good at doing. Most people that own trucks don't understand that they're no longer in the freight business; they're in the human relations business, human resources business, and so that person understands what we're doing a lot more than someone that goes and buys a truck as an investment to put on for us to use. So read between the lines there, okay?
Yeah, you have to be the reason that we started it was very utilitarian, right? It was Larry saw people who had trucks sitting that weren't being utilized. And at the time, we had more driver applicants than we had trucks. And he went, okay, well, there are some people that are already at Landstar that have trucks sitting. So he extended an invitation to them to bring those trucks over here. They did that. A couple of them stuck, a couple of them didn't. And then along the way, it was just happenstance. We didn't go looking for anyone, but a couple of people came along. We developed a relationship first. They didn't just show up and say, here's a truck, I want you to do this. It was all born of relationship. And then those relationships have carried on. Now, we fired truck owners before,
Absolutely.
because they weren't going to behave like we needed them to behave. And so we showed them the door. Somebody asked, let me find this question that I missed. Company driver positions. Mo, I assume if you're still on here, I assume you're asking if we have company driver positions. Well, that's what our master class is. It's an employee position. You're paid on W-2.
Again, let me clarify, Chris. We do not offer jobs. Okay. You cannot come here and drive for us. We're not in the business of hauling freight. Chris and I both would both put a gun to our head if that's what we were doing. If you want to come here and learn how to start and run a trucking business and stay in business, you're going to be a company driver while you're here because that's the legal way to do it. That's the moral, ethical, and legal way to do it. You're going to be an employee driver of ours, but that's not what you come here to do. We will never, ever, ever hire somebody to come here to have a job. That's the last thing that we want to do. You're not going to retire here. You're going to come here for 18 months and then you're going to leave. and you're going to go start your own business. We're going to help you continue on, but you're not going to stay here. We don't have benefits. We could care less about the seat that's in your truck. We could care less if the air conditioner works. We could care less if the radio works. You're here to learn how to be in business, not to be a entitled employee. That's never going to be what we do here. So just read between those lines, okay? Why am I the asshole tonight, by the way? And you're the good guy.
So, all right. So, yes, we do. Our like you said, our company, our positions in our class are employees. So we're not leasing you on as an owner operator. We have a separate program for that. But as we get into this next discussion about leasing, I want you to understand that there is a proper way for a business to hire an employee, and there's an improper way for a business to hire an employee. And we only do the proper way. We do not pay on a 1099 because it's immoral and stupid. We pay on a W-2 because that's the proper way to pay an employee that works for you. Yeah, that answers the question. Let's see. Thanks for explaining. You said 60 days minimum. I'm coachable. I listen. What will be the max number of days? The max number of days would be whatever the max number of days is. I mean, like I said, you would come here and you would learn the basics pulling a van, because you're here to learn the basics of business. You're not here to learn how to pull a van. You're not here to learn how to do flatbed. You're going to learn a great deal about flatbed because you have access to some of the best platform people in the industry, but you're here first and foremost to learn business. And so we're going to make sure that you have everything that you need with the basics. And then when you are ready, when we deem you are ready, you will put you in contact with Phil. And then Phil will interview you.
And if Phil thinks you're ready, if he agrees with us that you're ready, then you'll be invited into the program. But again, please understand, you're not going to come here with the idea that you're coming here to be in platform. You won't make it through the interview, I promise you. By the way, wear steel-toe boots and a football helmet at that interview.
Okay. Okay. Could y'all teach me the business without driving? I'm a mechanic. Well, through our digital products and through the podcast, we can certainly teach you. I don't have a position for you. Maybe someday
let me ask you, you wanted us to teach you how to become an owner operator without driving. Did somebody teach you how to be a mechanic without having a wrench?
All right. Well, let's get into the leasing thing. Let's go to the next segment. So, as we have talked about this over the year, and I see this in comments on TikTok and YouTube, people don't really understand the different ways that the word lease can be used. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start with a legal definition of a lease. Okay. A lease is a contract between two parties where one party, the lessor, allows the other party, the lessee, use their property for a period of time in exchange for consideration, usually a monthly sum of money. The original owner ultimately retains possession of the property. So you'll see this could be you're leasing a store to have a brick and mortar building in. You're leasing a house even to rent in or to live in. You're going to sign a document that's called a lease that's going to outline all of the terms of the deal. Who is the owner? Who's the lessor? Who's the lessee? All right. So if you have a truck, you own a piece of equipment, it's yours. It's yours to do with as you please. So you can either go get your own authority, go sign up through the government, get your own insurance, get all of your own permits and all of your own license and everything you need to operate that truck, or you can lease the truck onto a carrier who already has all of those things. They have the permits, they have the insurances, they have the license, they have all of those things that are necessary for the operation of the truck, which is why if you look at a truck, you can look at our trucks, you can look at any owner operator who doesn't have their own authority and they're leased to a carrier, it will say by law on the side of the truck, operated by Landstar, operated by Mercer. It doesn't say owned by, because Landstar doesn't own the truck, Mercer doesn't own the truck, JB Hunt doesn't own the truck, but it's operated by them. You happen to be the driver, but you own the vehicle and they operate it. You're the driver. And so the lease outlines, Landstar lease is what, 67 pages?
62.
It outlines all of the terms of that contract, who's getting paid for what and where, and who's going to pay for certain things. And that is a lease, leasing to a carrier. If you are leasing a truck from Lone Mountain, for example, well, you don't own the truck. Lone Mountain does, or Cresco Capital, or whatever their bank's called. They own the truck. You have signed an agreement to pay certain terms for that truck over time. Well, if you want to lease that truck to a carrier, you're going to have to get the owner, who is the leasing company, to release the revenue to you because you don't own the truck. You're leasing it from a company and then leasing it to a company. Well, those two companies are the people, they're the principals involved here.
There's another word. There's another word you need to add to this because it's very confusing because you're using the word lease, and lease is the common word. But you're talking about two completely different relationships. You're going to have to add the word purchase to the end of that. You lease purchase of the truck from Lone Mountain. You lease it onto Landstar. Because you're giving them exclusive use of your equipment in exchange for services. The word is the same, but there's two completely different transactions there. One is you buying it's another way of financing a purchase. In your case, from Lone Mountain, the example you use, Landstar is not buying the truck from you; they're leasing the truck, the use of the truck from you. And so that word can be confusing because we use it in two different, and actually three or four different scenarios. It's the same word. But a lease purchase and lease to a carrier are nothing. There's no similarity except for that one word, lease. But lease is just a description of a contract. In the case where you are leasing a truck to a carrier, even if you're lease purchasing it, you are in fact you're not the owner, but you have control of that equipment because you're paying for it. You don't have the title yet because you haven't bought it yet. But if you're leasing a truck that if you're leasing to a carrier, a truck that you're leasing from a leasing company, then there's another form has to come in there, and that's that release of revenue Chris was talking about, because you're not the owner. You're leasing a truck to someone you don't own. So Landstar has to get their permission to pay you since you don't own the vehicle. Again, these are just some legal forms and ways of doing business, but we hear this word all the time, lease. And we talk about lease purchases and how bad they are, but we talk about lease to a carrier, and people go, well, why is it so bad to lease purchase and then try to lease to a carrier? They're not the same thing. One is a financial or financing plan. One is sharing your equipment with someone else in exchange for services. We're very, very against lease purchase. We're very, very, very for leasing to a carrier because, again, there are services that are provided for you there in exchange for your exclusivity that cut your risks considerably when you're starting out in business new. Right, Chris?
Right. Exactly. It's but people, like Larry said, the word lease gets used in 3 or 4 different connotations and contexts. But let's say Larry owns a tractor, all right, and I say, hey Larry, I'll rent your truck from you. Let's not use the word lease. I'll rent your truck from you for $500 a week, and I'm going to take it and lease it on the Landstar. Well, Larry could say, hey, I like that. Let's come up with an agreement that says you're going to pay me $500 every week, and I'm going to go to Landstar and say, hey, I got this truck. And they'll say, okay, well, let's see a copy of the title. Well, it don't have my name on the title. It's got his name on the title. Well, they're going to want to know that he's okay being the owner of that equipment, because remember, the relationship is with the equipment, not you. Lots of people will say, well, I work for Landstar. No, you don't. If you worked for Landstar, you'd be working in the office in Jacksonville or Rockford. You don't work for Landstar. You work for yourself. Your equipment works for Landstar. You're the owner of that equipment. So you go and conduct business with Landstar, but your tractor gets paid or your trailer gets paid. You don't get paid. You receive the money because you own that piece of equipment or you lease that piece of equipment. But so many people get caught up in, well, do you work for Landstar? No, I don't work for Landstar. I work for Blue Ribbon. Well, does Blue Ribbon work for Landstar? No, Blue Ribbon is a company. It's an entity on its own that has a contractual, mutually beneficial relationship
business
with
to
another
business,
corporation.
B2B.
Yeah, business to business relationship. And that's where we see a lot of people that have never been in business, come into a relationship with Landstar thinking that they're some kind of employee. And then it really gets murky. Well, Landstar should do this and Landstar should do that. No, because Landstar's only objective is to their customers, not to you, because you're not an employee. Now, Landstar has some fiduciary responsibility to their employees, the people that work in their offices in Rockford and Jacksonville and in other places, but they have no real moral or fiduciary responsibility to you as a truck owner. You have the responsibility to yourself to operate that truck. Larry, I'm going to call this a segue, and I need you to pull that new toy out of your pocket that you just bought.
Okay. You talking about this toy?
That one right there.
All right.
We've been talking about this for a while, and he made it happen.
Yep. So what I have in my hand is a mirror. And we got these kind of as a gimmick because everybody always wants to figure out who to blame when their business is not going the way they want it. And in this industry, they want to blame the broker, they want to blame the carrier, they want to blame the rates or whatever. But in our situation or in our experience, the person whose fault it is the person that you see inside that little glass right there when you open it up. That's the person that you can look at and go, my trucking company sucks, and there's the reason right there. And we can fix that. But the person in that little picture right there has to want to be fixed and has to accept the fixing. First thing I have to do is acknowledge the fact that they are, in fact, the problem, which is a big step. Anyway, I just got the questions just started showing up on my screen, Chris, and there's a couple of things that I think we need to address.
Talking TikTok?
Yeah. Messy Marvin, are the insurance rates better for a driver who's been driving for a long time? Well, in general, that is the case. I mean, insurance is based on loss experience, okay? So if you're driving a long time and you haven't had wrecks, your insurance rates are probably going to be better. But let me tell you something interesting, okay? We are leased to Landstar, and everybody thinks that we're crazy for doing that because we give up 35% of our money. But I don't care who I hire, as long as Landstar qualifies them. My insurance rates have never, ever changed at Landstar because of a driver I've hired or because of an accident that we've had. So that's one of the benefits of being with a carrier that has 10,000 drivers, because it dilutes the pool so much that it doesn't really change it that much, because one person out of 10,000 is not going to change the risk factor dramatically enough for the insurance company's actuaries to change the premium. But in general, in the insurance industry, yes, the more experience of loss that you have, the higher your premium is in the industry. But again, we are the exception of that because of the fact that we're leased to Landstar. That's one of the benefits, is that our insurance rates are very, very, very low, and they haven't changed. I've been at Landstar since 2013, 14, somewhere along in there, and my insurance rates have never changed. Well, they've actually gone down a couple of times,
Right.
but not just me. I mean, the entire fleet's insurance, not fleet, but the entire company, carriers' rates have gone down a couple of times. So again, that's the answer to your question is, in fact, that is true, but it's not true in our situation being leased to a carrier. That's a benefit. I don't have to worry about hiring somebody that has a bad driving record and pull all of our rates down. That's not going to happen at Landstar. One person in a 10,000 person pool is not going to have that big of an actuarial effect on it. If that makes sense, Chris.
Yeah. Rodeo 1434, is the lease amount dependent on the truck or fixed normally for companies? I'm not 100% sure that I understand your question.
Yeah, explain the question. I don't know what you're asking. I think I might have an idea, but I don't want to waste a bunch of time on it if it's not the right question.
Well, I'll say this. Is the lease amount dependent on the truck? No.
Well, if you're lease purchasing a vehicle, obviously lease amount is dependent on the truck. Absolutely.
Right.
But if you're leasing to a carrier, it's not going to have that. It has probably nothing to do with it.
Right. So if you're talking about leasing a truck, a financial transaction where you take possession of the vehicle, depending on the truck, well, yeah.
Lease purchasing a vehicle is just another way of buying it. It is a financing plan is all it is. So yes, it's going to be 100% based on the cost of the vehicle. People that advocate leasing, that's one of the reasons they talk about it, is that the payment's typically cheaper if you lease a vehicle than buy it because you have what's called a residual value. That still doesn't pass necessarily the BSE 9000 test, but that's what they're going to say is a benefit. But leasing a truck onto a carrier, the value of the truck is only going to affect what the cost of the insurance is that you're going to pay for it. It's not going to affect your Landstar doesn't have a different rate that they pay us based on how new or old our trucks are. We get paid regardless of what the truck is. The only thing that's different is the cost of our physical damage insurance, which we get through Landstar's insurance carrier, is affected by the price of the truck. And I think that's
he said
answering
that
your question. Okay,
yeah.
all right, good deal.
And everybody, that's the thing that we've always said is everybody shows up on the first day at Landstar, the same, right? You all have
upside down and naked.
Yeah, you all have the same access to the load board. There's nothing special for new person, and which I'm gonna roll this into the next question. How would you compare Mercer to Landstar? The main thing that we can tell you, and this is anecdotal from people that we've known that have been at Mercer, the main difference between Mercer and Landstar is that, okay, Larry's been at Landstar since 2013, and let's say you just got out of orientation yesterday, okay, and you've both got load alerts turned on, and you both receive an email with a new posting from an agent. You've been here 1 day. He's been here 10 years. If you make the phone call before he does, the load is yours. There's no, well, he's been
seniority or how long I've been empty doesn't affect that. Now, anecdotally, we know that at Mercer, that's not the case. There's a pecking order there.
Yeah, there's
based on there's some sort of seniority. There's some sort of a privilege that is gained by being empty longer and being with them for a longer period of time. Now, again, I don't know this. Well, I do know it because I did go to Mercer orientation one time with a driver, and I did hear it coming out of the guy's mouth. So I haven't lived it because I never worked there, but I have gone through the orientation. I've heard it being said, and the driver that I was there with, who used to be in this program, but we had to let him go because Landstar wouldn't let us keep him. And we found a place for him to land there at Mercer to help him out. I know that's what he said. He told me, so I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. But that's the problem with us is that, we stack loads. We're very, very good at planning out loads for 10, 12 days. Okay. That would be very hard for us to do at Mercer in the way we do it because of those kinds of situations. a truck being empty longer than another one, or us being there longer than somebody else making a phone call. We got the load and we get taken away from us because somebody with a older seniority called on it. That just wouldn't work for us. I mean, that's just
Right.
that's not acceptable.
Right.
But I mean, they're both great companies. They both haul freight. They both got good customers. They both got good freight. I mean, I know lots of people, especially in the platform world, that have been at both, and they like both places. So I'm not going to say bad things about Mercer. It just doesn't work for us because of the way that we book, the way we book loads and the way we try to teach our drivers how to book loads when they become owner operators is to stack loads. And you can't stack loads if you have to wait to get approval to get the load. You can't book a third load if you haven't got the second load. And you can't get the second load if you're not empty or you're not your seniority's not there. So I understand what we're saying here. It's not making it bad. It's just different. It doesn't work for us.
Matt Almond on YouTube says, looking to get better rates. I don't work for Landstar. I use DAT board. Well, Matt, here's I'm going to tell you something that's probably going to, I don't know, upset you, but disappoint you. You can't do anything about the rates. You
and
cannot.
Coming to Landstar won't change that.
And
coming to Landstar going to Mercer is not going to change. The rates are the market. Okay. A carrier doesn't have better rates. The market is the rates. And whether or not you want to believe this or not, you're the one that sets the rates because you can always say no. So if the rate doesn't suit you, it's not your rate, guess what? Say no and move on and find another one.
Now,
but switching carriers is not going to fix that.
Here's what I will tell you if you want to increase your revenue. You need a daily rate, which is a number, $1,000, $1,200, $1,500, $1,800. You need a daily rate, and that's how you need to book loads. If you want to increase the revenue for your business, you need to stop worrying about rate per mile and start worrying about rate per day and rate per week.
You know how you set that rate per day? It's based on the profit and how much of the profit you need to meet your goals. So the rate per day is based on how much you need to make. So if you know what you want to make, what you have to make to pay your bills, whatever it is that you're doing, wherever you're working, it's just a math problem. How many loads do I need to pull this week to make the profit I need to make to justify doing this job that I've decided to do? But that's how you come up with your daily rate. It's not just an arbitrary number, We know our daily rate because we know what our costs are. You guys saw our cost. So we've got to make sure that we get enough that everybody gets paid. The driver gets paid, we get paid, the owner gets paid. That's what drives our daily rate. If we make our daily rate, we know everybody gets paid and we've got money and maintenance. I mean, everything is great. If we don't get our daily rate, something's not going to happen, okay? In our case, it's not the driver because we pay the driver first. But in our case, it's probably going to be me that doesn't get paid because I get paid last. So I own the company. But when you own the company, that's what happens. If you don't make the minimum profit that you need to make, you're not going to end up with any money left over at the end of the week. But that's what sets your daily rate.
Larry, I need you to get your mirror back out of your pocket for Willie Castillo 61. It's not the rate. It's not the rate. It's the broker. They are keeping 40 to 50% of the problem. Well, Willie, what you're saying, and I'm going to look you right in the eye, what you're saying is 100% not true. It's not true. There's no factual basis in that statement. There's no metric that you can find anywhere other than a bunch of truck driver nonsense that says that brokers are getting 40 to 50% of the rate. It's not true. So what you need is one of Larry's responsibility checkers where you can look in the mirror, and if your business is failing, you can look in the mirror and see the reason why. The brokers are not taking 40 to 50%. It's not true. It's never been true, and it will never be true. By every possible metric that has been ever studied and can be studied, the average that a broker gets is 15%, period. End of story, right? Brokers are not ripping you off. You're ripping yourselves off, drivers. But number one, instead of treating yourselves like truck owners and business people, you're treating yourself like truck drivers. You have an employee mentality in business, and that's what's destroying your business and keeping you from being profitable. So stop blaming the brokers for your bad business model, because your bad business model is the problem, not the brokers. You don't know how to negotiate a rate. You don't know how much rate you need. And so when you don't get enough rate, you throw a hissy fit like a toddler and start blaming people that have nothing to do with your misery.
Let me give it a different angle. Okay. Let's just say they were getting 40%. Let's just assume that's correct. Okay. Here's the problem with that. Okay.
Mhm.
Number one, it's really none of your business what they get. Okay. If they put the load on there and you take the load that because you want that load, why does it matter how much they made? I'll tell you why it matters is because your model does not allow you to haul that freight and make any money with it, because your model is the problem. Your cost is too high and you can't make any money taking that load. And so if you're sitting here thinking, if I had their 40%, it would fix my shitty model and I could then make money. But that's not fair either, because they deserve to make something, and what they make, it shouldn't be regulated by anybody. That's called the free market. If you worked on your model and got your cost down to where you made money on the load, even if he made 40%, you wouldn't care what he made. So stop worrying about other people. And you can control your costs. You cannot control whether or not that broker made 40%. And you're not going to get Congress or anybody else to regulate that, because that's just not the free market. And if they did that, it would end up hurting you. I know you don't understand that, but if we're going to regulate them, guess what? You're going to get regulated too. And you'll scream like a baby when that happens. Oh my God, I can't make any more than that. That's just not fair. But that's what you want to happen to the broker, because if you had that money that was given to you, it would unfuck your business, which you've managed to fuck up pretty good, I'm suspecting. So why don't we unfuck your business and not worrying about somebody else's business that's none of your business? How about that?
Juan Jesus Munoz says, so the low rates come from the shippers most of the time, and we think it's the brokers. No. I mean, the shipper's writing the check, okay? But what you have to
let me look. When you go in to get your truck work done, you want to pay what? The least that you can pay and get the job done, right? I mean, when you go, anytime I've been around truckers, you know what they say? How can I get something without breaking the bank? That's exactly what they say. How can I get insurance without breaking the bank? How can I get this without breaking the bank? But yet you want the shippers, your customers, to not worry about anything and break the bank every time you haul freight for them. It's just not, it doesn't make any, it's not logical. Okay. Everybody wants to do what they can do, spend the least amount of money. That's just normal. That's human nature. So the shippers, the customers, want to ship their stuff at the lowest price they can get away with. Well, what dictates that? Well, if you can't haul it, guess what? Did you see the numbers that Chris showed earlier tonight? We will. Okay. You can get mad at me all you want to, but we will haul that cheap freight, because number one, it's not cheap if we can make profit with it. And number two, if you can't haul it, that's even better for us, because that means I have less competition to get it. But the way you fix this is you get you to be able to haul, quote, cheap freight. Instead of making fun of it, haul it. And you won't have that problem. We showed you tonight how many trucks we have that are making over $150,000 a year. Not once did we bitch about the rates or talk about what the brokers kept. It didn't matter. We did this in this market with this freight, the same freight that you walk by and say smells like shit. We tell you it smells like flowers, and we grab it and run with it. There's your problem. Here, let me get the mirror back out. See, there's your problem. Work on that.
What you have to understand is that there is an economic principle called supply and demand. Okay. There is the supply of available trucks, and there is the demand of loads to be hauled. That is what sets the rates, period. There is no boogeyman. There is no evil. When there are too many trucks and not enough loads, the rates go down. When there are too many loads and not enough trucks, the rates go up. It's called capacity. When the capacity of trucks is too high, and you'll hear people use that word, capacity. Think of the inside of the trailer. or the deck of the trailer. The capacity is too high right now, and the volume of loads is too low, and so the rates are going to be lower. That's just a principle of basic economics, okay? Now, like Larry said, if you're the shipper, you can see all of the same metrics that the trucks can see and the brokers can see. So you're very unlikely to be willing to write the same check to move a load from point A to point B today in 2024 that you did in 2021, because you know that the market has changed. The shippers are not interested in having people on payroll to book loads. That's why they use brokers. Brokers are a third-party intermediary that they can use to go find trucks. Now, Matt over on YouTube, let me go over to this comment. Broker have asked me all week to pay $400. They've been paid me $700 at the beginning. Look, if someone offers you a load, which by the way, I'm going to tell you right now, Matt, your daily rate should be at least $1,250, if not $1,450. Okay. Just based on what I know about operating a truck, you need to have a daily rate. Well, if somebody offers you $700, it don't matter if it's to take it across the street. It's not enough revenue to cover your daily expenses and need for profit. So stop worrying about it. Just because somebody offered you something cheap doesn't mean anything. You can just say,
you don't have to take it.
I'm not doing it.
Just do a Nancy Reagan. Say no and find something else.
Yes. So you have to be in control. And the problem that we see, I mean, think about what we see from this side of the table and all of the owner operators we worked with and all of the drivers. Nobody except one guy. There was one guy one time we did an interview with, and I said, "What's your cost per mile?" Nailed it. "What's your maintenance cost per mile?" Instantly told me. "What was your fuel cost per mile?" He even knew his fuel percentage of revenue. Okay. He was the exception, not the rule. Nobody knows what their cost is. I know what ours is. Ours averages $1.58, all miles, all expenses. Okay. So what's about the maximum amount of miles that we can drive in a day is about 600 times 1.58. That's $948 in cost. $948 in cost to run 600 miles. Well, if I make $1,450 minus 948, my spread is $452. $452 is my spread from my basic cost. Well, if you don't know what the cost is, how can you know what's cheap freight and what's not cheap freight? That's the problem that we see with most owner operators, because employee drivers that become business owners don't have the habits of business owners. They're not going to keep every single receipt. They're not going to write down every single expense. They're not going to have data and bookkeeping and accounting. And then they're going to get 6 months in. And at some point they're going, "Man, you know what I really should do? I should do this." And then they look at this giant pile of receipts, half of which are missing. And it's so overwhelming and so terrifying that they will, at the end of the year, slide and sneak into the accountant's office with a shoebox full of receipts, dump it on their desk, and run like hell in the hopes that the accountant's not going to shoot them in the back of the head before they get out the front door.
Or if you could just steal the profits from another good business from them, because they ought not be able to charge that, then you don't have to worry about that.
Right. You want to blame other drivers for your bad business model. You want to blame brokers, truck owners, fuel companies, TA and Petro, who are guilty, by the way. Let's just all agree on that. You want to blame, but even TA and Petro, even the crook that ripped us off for $3,000 starter, if our truck doesn't make a profit at the end of the year, that's not the problem. The $3,000 starter is not what did it. Okay. Because the 25 cents a mile over 100,000 miles is $25,000, in total maintenance you're going to spend. Now, I want to roll back to, let me find this comment. I'm on too many screens here. It was something about warranty. I saw Rocky Does lease purchase come with any kind of warranty? Well, sure, they'll tell you that. They'll tell you that
here's the warranty it comes with. You are going to lose your ass. That's the warranty it comes with.
That's the guarantee.
Yeah, that's the only one that really matters that it comes with.
Here's what I would rather you do. I'm going to Google this real quick because I want to see.
Somebody said I'm saying the same thing I said a year ago. Got bad news for you. I'm going to say the same thing a year from now because this doesn't change.
Right. I'm trying to look. I wanted to see if I knew this. Okay. Platinum. Okay. NTP, National Truck Protection. Premiums are $29 a week. Okay. Oh, that's a Landstar. So 29 times 52. It's $1,508. The Platinum engine warranty available for 24 months is $39.95 plus $39.95. And the Ultra, the limits of liability, it doesn't say how much. Okay, but that right there, what I got just from a quick Google search was $5,500. I would rather you, okay, and this should show the insanity of what I think about warranties. I would rather you go sign up for a high interest credit card with an $8,000 limit, and that be your warranty. That's how much I think warranties are terrible, especially aftermarket warranties. What I'd really rather you do is just start with $10 or $15 or $20,000 in the bank and self-insure yourself with a warranty. And then if you'll collect 25 cents for every mile that you drive, in an average month, you're going to save $2,500. And so if you don't have any major expenses, you throw that money in there every week. I would much rather you do that than waste money on these warranties. Now, if people would at least be honest about these warranties, and they're not. They act like they're magic.
First of all, they're not warranties. They're insurance policies, okay? They're not warranties.
Right. And I've seen the other side of it. Okay. I have watched, listen, Chris Dolan that owns Cam's Cam Service Center is a really good guy that has a real calm and cool disposition and demeanor. I've never seen him get all that tore up, but let him get on the phone with a warranty company and you can literally watch his forehead start turning red dealing with these godforsaken people. They're awful. Their job, okay, the cubicle monster that the shop is forced to talk to, their whole purpose in life is to find a reason to deny your warranty. And then they're going to deny it. And then the shop's going to fight and they're going to deny it. And the shop's going to fight and then they're going to deny it. And if the shop's really good, they will fight for you and get the warranty approved. The problem is about 2 weeks have passed. Okay. Whereas if you would have even had the terrible, awful, high interest credit card, you could have had the truck fixed in a couple of days and been back to making money. But I've watched trucks sit for 2 weeks and 3 weeks waiting on warranty approval. Well, if you're not going to count the cost of lost revenue waiting on a warranty company, we're talking about having a goal of $8,000 a week. Okay, well, you set 1 week, that's $8,000. You set another week, that's another $8,000. You set another week, that's another $8,000. You are burning money in the hope that the warranty company is going to pay for your repair. When if you would have just not been broke and paid for the damn thing yourself, your truck would have been running in 2 or 3 days and gone. But people will sit, and y'all have seen the stories. Oh, my truck was down at the dealership for 8 months and 6 months and 6 weeks and waiting on parts. We've never, ever had that experience because number one, I'm going to get on the damn phone and I'm going to find the part. And if I got to pay air freight, I air freighted a turbo one time. That was the American Express card openly wept when I air freighted a turbo.
So did the holder of the card.
but the turbo was there the next day. The guy put the turbo on and the truck went on hauling freight. Right? I mean, but we're going to sit and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And
now the bigger picture here, though, Chris, is that here's what's going to say: who's got $10,000 to do this with? Well, that's the other problem, is that there's way too many of you guys getting in business that you're not prepared to get in business. I'm sorry, but it's not your right to start a trucking company. Everybody should not be in business. If you do not have enough capital to be in business, don't get in business. Go get a job as an employee somewhere so you're not in this situation. But if you're going to act like you're in business, be able to be in business by having the money necessary to do it. It's not your birthright to have a truck, own a truck, and start a trucking company. It takes money to do that. And when you don't have money, you lose your ass. Or you buy stupid warranties, or you do stupid things. You make stupid decisions. But people that have that save up the money and make good decisions, that's how they got the money to begin with, can make good decisions and make good money being in business. So that's the bigger picture here, is we have a whole bunch of people, of you guys out here in business that have no business to be in business. And again, I'm sorry if I offend you, but I'm not really sorry I offended you.
Yeah.
It's not automatic. Everybody that drives a truck is not going to be a truck owner, unfortunately. Well, it's not unfortunate. It's just what it is. Everybody that works at McDonald's is never going to own a McDonald's. Okay. It's not an automatic thing. It's not grade 13. It's a big responsibility. It's one that you can work yourselves up to take and do, but you just can't. No one owes you that. You can't just go buy a truck and go, well, since I've bought a truck, then it's automatic that I should be able to buy a warranty and then be able to make a profit and all these things. No, it's not. It's not automatic. It's not automatic that brokers should give you freight that you can haul. There's no guarantee about that. You're out here. You have the opportunity. We've shown you right now today that we've got, I don't know, 6 or 7 trucks here that have made over $150,000 a year. Okay, so it can be done, but it can't be done making stupid decisions and having no money, so that you're having to do these things that are costing you your business. You can't warranty your business. Okay, you can't buy a warranty on your truck to keep you in business. That's never going to happen. There's a risk. The warranty is not going to remove that risk. The cost of that warranty company is in business to make money. They make money by taking in more money than they pay out. How do you think that works? Okay, how do you think that really works? If everybody bought one of those warranties, they paid all this money out. It doesn't work that way. That's called actuarial. It's not going to work that way. They're not going to pay. They're going to find everything they can to keep from paying.
Yeah,
but you bought that thinking that's going to save your ass someday. What's going to save your ass is putting money in the bank. That's what's going to save your ass. Self-reliance.
And I've seen people who will jump in and say, "Oh, well, my warranty paid for an engine." Well, okay, congratulations. I'm glad that happened for you.
How many people didn't get paid though because your engine got paid?
Right. Exactly. And I've seen it pay partial. Somebody asked, what do you think of Landstar NTP warranty? It's not worth the paper it's written on. I wouldn't give them a dime, not a single penny of my money. It would be one thing if the warranty companies actually didn't behave this way, and you could say, okay, well, I'm going to put $8,000, as some sort of risk assessment over into this warranty. And of course they have to pay for $8,000 worth of repairs first for you to break even. And then really for the opportunity cost of that $8,000, which could be sitting in a money market account, what that's making 1%, 1.5% or something right now. It could be sitting in an account making money for you. But instead you've got it tied up in this warranty. And so if you don't get all of the $8,000 back, plus another $1,000, you've lost on the deal. You haven't gotten anything from it. And
there's no warranty you can buy that will cover that lost opportunity cost, even if it paid for the motor. the 2 or 3 weeks you sat there, you're not going to get reimbursed for that.
Nope. And
usually the repairs are not what costs the money. It's the lost opportunity that costs the money.
Have you ever seen, because we've had 4 trucks get totaled. Have you ever seen insurance company cover downtime?
Nope.
I mean, we've gotten the value of the truck after we fought like hell and threatened and cajoled, and but we eventually got at least what the contractual, obligation for the what do you call it? The stated value, right? We at least got that. But what you've got to think about the risk that just owning a truck it exposes you to, because if Flip Flop, the Schneider driver, makes a wide turn in the parking lot and tears your hood off and takes the charge air cooler and the radiator with it, I can tell you, and now we had this happen, it didn't keep the truck from being operated. It tore the hell out of the hood and the headlight. But I can tell you this, if that guy would have been 3 inches more back, he would have taken out the charge air cooler and the radiator. I'm going to tell you that we would have had a charge air cooler and radiator installed in the parking lot the next day. I'm not going to sit and wait on the insurance company. I'm going to have that truck back running. So Flip Flop is going to make the wide turn. His trailer's going to swing around, take out the radiator and charge air cooler. Well, the next morning, I'm going to be on the phone. Hey, I need a charge air cooler and a radiator. And then I'm going to find a road service, and I'm going to have somebody go over there, and I'm going to have that stuff put in, and we're going to get that truck back running. And by the end of the day, hopefully, or the next day, we're back to hauling freight. We'll fight with the insurance company to get paid, which we fought like hell. Screw you, Schneider. You know what? I'm going to go there too. Because a lot is made of, and I saw somebody today, well, they wanted to find a better rate for their physical damage than using Gallagher through Landstar. Well, I'll say this for Gallagher. When Flip Flop tore the hood off our truck, we went and got, was it 3 or 4 different estimates? I think it was 4. And we kept coming in at somewhere between like $8,000 and $9,000 to repair that truck. And Schneider kept playing this game with us. We didn't get the email, which is bullshit. Yes, you did. And so I sent it again. Well, finally, they come back with a like $4,000 estimate. And we're like, no, y'all did $8,000 worth of damage to our truck. You're going to give us $8,000. Well, finally, Larry had like of this Mickey Mouse horse shit. And he called Gallagher. And he sent all of the things into Gallagher. Gallagher sent us a check like a couple of days later. Now they're going to go and get their pound of flesh out of Schneider. Remind me what that word is again.
Subrogation.
We use big words.
SUBROGATION.
So that relationship with that insurance company, because we're leased with Landstar, got us an extra $4,000 that we weren't going to get otherwise, because Schneider had basically told us to pound sand. This is our final offer. This is all you're getting. And so we wish you the best of luck. Where do you want us to send the check? And I said, you can send the check straight up your ass. That's where you can send it. Bar Bob says, I got 3 weeks downtime for my wrecked truck, but it wasn't my fault. Okay. I'm sure I'm sure it happens, of course, in our cases, when the truck's totaled, it's pretty much over at that point. There's not really a downtime to be had. I don't think, well, your truck, when old boy hit that car in Oklahoma, and your truck was down for a couple of weeks while they fixed it. So that's probably the only time that we could have made that claim. But it would have been hard to do that because I went and hauled the freight, so we didn't really miss anything. But you just have to think about what you're exposed to, because you're a company driver at Schneider, JB Hunt, US Express, or Bob's Trucking Company, and somebody tears up your truck, they'll just give you another truck, right? But when you're an owner operator, you have one truck. And if something out of your control happens to that truck, how are you going to make a living? How's your family going to eat? Well, hopefully it's on savings and not by going further into debt, because you already have a $1,600 truck payment and you're paying weekly for a warranty that's useless and you don't have any money. And then now you're trying to feed your family and your truck's sitting in a dealership for 2 or 3 weeks or a month waiting on parts to get repaired. That's why we tell you don't go into business lightly. It's not something where you have all of these safety nets that you do when you're an employee. None of those exist when you're in business, and nobody's coming to help you. And if you can't understand that and accept that, you do not need to get into business. I missed this conversation. How do you get someone to give you the right amount of coverage for bobtail? Do you mean bobtail liability, or do you mean physical damage? Like if the truck is damaged? I guarantee you I'm paying more than what the truck is worth. Yeah, you must be talking about.
Well, that's called stated value insurance. That's up to you. You state the value, and the premium's based on what you state. The payout is actually what it's actually worth at the time of the claim, real cash money. So that's a big, big thing in truck insurance that you have to understand. You can say it's worth whatever you want to and pay a premium based on that, but they're only going to pay out what is actually the actual cash value at the time of the claim. And they're going to get that actual cash value by doing comps, other trucks on the truck paper or on an auction block. That's how they're going to pay. So you can pay all you want to in premium. That doesn't mean you're going to get paid for a claim.
That reminds me, there was a comment earlier, and I don't remember where it was at, but basically it said, have you ever been in a business dispute? And so this is a good example of that. We've been in disputes with insurance companies. We've had a couple of disputes with agents at Landstar. We're always going to win with facts and data, not feelings. So the couple of times that I've had a disagreement with an agent and Landstar has gotten involved as the referee, they show up with hurt feelings, and I show up with reams and reams and reams of data. I've got emails, I've got GPS data, I've got text messages, and every single time, I think there's been 3, that Landstar has called me because of some dispute about an upset agent, I have said, well, here's the data, here's the truth. And every single time they said, well, have a nice day. In the case of dealing with these insurance companies, Larry, again, they'll give you an offer, which always sucks. The first offer always sucks. It's always terrible. And you go back and you say, nope, that's not the case. And you give them data and they ignore it, and you give them more. And then, you make some threats and get Mr. $400 an hour involved. And every time we have gotten a fair compensation for our truck based on the stated value that we insured it for. We just adjusted insurance on a bunch of our trucks because they had a stated value that was much higher than the actual value of the truck. So there was no point in insuring them for $50,000 when they're worth $25,000. If you list asset as stated value, that's what they pay. No, Mike?
No, that is incorrect. There's several comments here that are incorrect. Number one, the payout at a claim is actually the actual ACV, the actual cash value of that truck at the time of the claim. That's going to be determined by comps. Okay, what other trucks are sold for that are like yours? That's what's going to determine it. Stated value has nothing to do with what you're going to get paid in the event of a claim. Stated value only determines the premium you're going to pay. That's it. You can state whatever value. You can say your Peterbilt's worth $1 million, and you can make premiums on $1 million. But when it gets totaled and they pay you, they're going to pay you what it's actually worth on the auction block, and they're not going to give you back any of your premium that you overpaid all those years either, by the way. So understand something.
Here's what we can tell you, Mike. We've been in business for a long time, And we've done this 4 times with 4 trucks. We had a stated value on the policy. They came back with a lower value of actual cash value. And we went back and fought back and forth, and we ended up getting it. But they never offered us the stated value, which would be awesome. It would be great if we'd be like, hey, insurance company, this truck just burned to the ground. We had it insured for $25,000. How about my check, please? But they don't do that. They say, oh, well, the truck's really only worth $12,000. Well, no, it's not.
Juan Jesus Munoz, a dispute between you and Larry. Well, let me explain this to you, okay? Chris and I, we don't really have disputes. We discuss things between us and we come up with a common resolution. But in the event that there was a dispute, understand something here. I'm the boss. He works for me. He understands that. I understand that. There is no dispute, okay? But I value him and I value his opinion. He understands that too. And so it would never come to that.
Yeah, I mean, we've disagreed on things, but it's never been,
One of the things I told him when I first met him, I said, if you're going to be a yes man, I don't want you. You're here because I want your input and your opinion. We don't always agree, but we always do come to an agreement.
Right. Listen, there's probably no 2 people better. And now we've brought our management team into this and it's extended out. Whenever there's a problem, give us about 10, maybe 15 minutes. And it could be you could be absolutely drowning in misery. Give us 15 minutes and we will have not only one, we'll have 3 or 4 solutions lined out, because we come in and go, okay, what about this? Well, that maybe, what about this? It might work.
If you ever saw that movie, what's it, Apollo 13, where they put all those guys in a room and said, here's what they've got, give them us a solution. That's how we work.
Yeah. Right. I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
Well, you should watch it, because that's a perfect example of what we do. The astronauts have, they had the explosion. They're in trouble. They're on the moon. Yeah. They can't get home. So they only have certain things there. So the solution can't involve shit they don't have. So they say, here, they come in the room. They said, here's what's on that spaceship. Here's what they got. Come up with a solution. So now the engineers have to take what they've got and come up with a fix to get them home. And it's an amazing movie. It's a very, very good movie. And it's he is. It's exactly what we do. We get in a room. We have in front of us what the problem is, and we can't make up things that we can't use. We have to use what we've got, and we fix the problem. But we're the best at it that I've ever seen.
I'm more of a tombstone guy, where we can just start shooting people. That's
well, my speed. I have to kind of I got to take the bullets away from him when that happens.
Yeah.
Usually that's the opposite, though. Usually he's having to defuse me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or he's encouraging me.
Well,
sometimes he's trying to egg me on.
That is true.
He'll call me up and say, hey, he'll call me and says, hey, you got a special in you today?
We use it sparingly.
Yeah, we do.
Is this the same blue ribbon that was affiliated with Cato Foods? No. We're just a small fleet leased to Landstar.
We're the same blue ribbon that was blue ribbon a year ago, and a year before that started in 2013. Okay.
So if you insure, so if your stated value is lower than actual value, you get stated value. Yeah, I believe that's true. Now, you can fight
that's true,
right? But this is why.
No, you said this is what it's for. You're right. It doesn't work both ways. It doesn't work in your favor if you undervalue it. If you undervalue it, you're going to get what you said it's worth. If you overvalue it, they're going to give you what it's worth. Okay. I mean, this is not a fair thing, but unfortunately life is not fair, and all truck drivers don't always get treated fair, unfortunately. And this is one of them. Be very careful with stated value insurance. It is not in your favor. They're going to pay you the least they can pay you.
Yeah. So you have to look at your, let's say you buy a truck brand new and you operate it for 5 years. Well, I'm hoping that every year you're going to look at the market around you. Because
You
again,
should
let's go back
adjust
to
it
the
every
market.
year. Yes.
What you owe on it, how much you paid for it, how much you
It's
love it, and how many times you wax it every week doesn't have
got
anything to do
nothing to
with
do
its
with what it's
actual
worth.
value.
Yeah.
So you need to be looking at comps, and you need to be watching, because listen, there's a bunch of people that bought $200,000 trucks in 2021 that are today worth about 40, and that's just the case. So,
If you give you an example, if you go do a lease purchase, you have to buy what's called gap insurance
right.
because you're going to owe a lot more than that vehicle's worth. Because number one, you already paid more for it at the beginning than it's worth. And so the insurance companies know that. So they sell you what's called gap insurance, which covers the difference between what it's worth and what you owe. So you don't lose your ass. But that's what gap insurance is. So
Which
if
should
lease
be
purchases have to have that, that should tell you something. There should be a little lesson there in between those words if you'll read them.
Okay. And there was another. Oh, Trucker World. How did Larry get started? Well, I'm going to tell you to go to YouTube or your favorite podcasting app. Podverse is my favorite. And go to episode 49. We're on episode 216 right now. I'm going to tell you to go to episode 49, and you can hear the whole story about how he got started. That was the very first episode of this podcast with Larry, and he told his whole story of how he got started back in the 70s before I was even born. And you can hear that. So gap insurance is like PMI on a mortgage. Yeah, it's basically same concept. First time here, very good podcast. Well, thank you, Mike.
Look, here's the moral of this story. Okay, let me just sum this up for you. Whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter whether you do or not. It doesn't change reality. Is there is money to be made in the trucking industry? Okay, we've proved it every day, but you can't do it like a truck driver. You have to do it like a business person. Now, when I say the word truck, I'm not talking about an occupation of someone driving a truck. I'm talking about a mentality. You have to have your crap together to make money in any business right now. Trucking is no different than any other business. You get go to any person that's in business, ask them how it is right now. No one's going to say, "Oh, we're killing it." You know, things are tough all over. Everybody's got the same president. Okay, so no one here is making. Even brokers are not killing it. Okay, um, but there is plenty of room to make a profit in this industry, but you have to control your costs. And controlling costs is not fun. It's very, very diligent and painstaking, and requires a lot of attention. And requires a lot of sacrifice. If you're not willing to do that, you're not going to make money in this industry, or any industry for that matter. Okay, but you have to be willing to do what it takes to do to make a profit. And that's a whole lot different than driving a truck as an employee, where profit doesn't matter because it's not your truck and you don't give a shit. But that's how to sum this up: is run your trucking business like a business, control the cost, generate a profit, and you'll do fine. But if you try to do it old school by driving 80 miles an hour, 1,800 miles a night, illegal, no, you're not going to make it. Okay, and the only way you're going to make it is to steal money from another business that's doing a good job as a broker and taking it because you think it's yours. You're entitled to it, and that will cover up for your poor running of your business. That's not the way that you make money, and that's not how you run a business. Run your business. Don't worry about other people's businesses.
I'm going to share something profound from our management team today that I just remembered. We have a mentoring program for BCOs. There's some fees associated with that. We get paid for what we do. And we have our program that you can come and get in as an employee driver that has no cost to you, right? If you stay the whole time. But Josh said that, you got to be careful not to consider our mentor program like a gym membership. Okay. Because in his case, he said the gym membership is not used in a traditional sense. It's a fat tax that I pay to pretend that I'm working toward fixing a problem. I don't go to the gym. I just continue to pay the fee. Don't get involved in something where it costs you money and you don't take advantage of it. You know, um, it's of course you're not going to get to stay very long if you have that behavior. But we're really, really, really good at what we do. And we want to share the knowledge that we have gained over the years with you, and give you the opportunity to be really, really, really good at it too. Gary Anderson, 294, he said you make $150,000 a year profit per truck. Yes. Oh, what do you consider killing it? Oh, no, that's a response to David Coker. My company's killing it. What do you consider killing it? Okay, let me put it this way. According to ATBS, which is the largest, what would you call it? They're not a tax firm. They're
bookkeeping firm.
Bookkeeping firm for truck
accounting. Yeah.
Okay, according to them, the average owner operator in America makes about $65,000 a year in net profit. Well, I have a CDL. I'm an experienced driver. I have 27 years of driving. I'm not going to leave the house for $65,000 a year. I mean, I'm not going to take a company driver job for $65,000 a year. If I can't make 100, 110 as a company driver, I'm not going to do the job. Now, that's with 27 years of experience. Okay. So I think that if you're going to be an owner operator and take on all of the risk and the stress and the headache of being in business, it better make you a lot more than it would make you as a company driver. And there are people right now that have gotten into niche positions as company drivers that are making what we're making as owner operators. They're really killing it. There are some fantastic company driver jobs out there making six figures and more with benefits. Why would you take on all of the risk and potential for disaster to make less than a company driver? So my idea of killing it is making at least $150,000 a year net profit as an owner operator working full time, so that I can build my business hopefully into something that becomes an asset that makes me money that I don't have to actively work in. But don't buy yourself a job. Please don't do that, because it'll be the worst job you've ever had. And it will end really quick. But so many company drivers, they hate which, look, I can get it. I wouldn't last 5 minutes at some of these big carriers from what I'm hearing about their cameras and their tracking and I'm way too disobedient for that by nature. I would get fired so fast. It would make your head spin. So when people say, well, I want to get into business for freedom, I get that. I'm a huge freedom advocate, and I believe that the most freedom that you can ever experience is through self-employment. But it's very, very, very hard. It's very hard. And when you look at people who have businesses that have been in business for 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 years, it's because they worked like absolute animals for the first 3, 5, or 10 years. They're not. You look at a Bruce Mallinson, for example, okay, who's been, Pittsburgh Power's been in business probably 40 years. Bruce has a pretty nice lifestyle. Bruce gets to do what Bruce wants to do when Bruce wants to do it. But Bruce worked incredibly hard to build Pittsburgh Power into the business that it is today, which is a great segue to talk about Pittsburgh Power, our sponsor. We are stocking distributors of the max mileage Fuel-Borne Catalyst, Flashpoint, the new cetane booster. We have OPS. We install OPSs at our shop in Charleston, West Virginia. So if you're coming through Charleston and you want a good price on max mileage and you want to save the shipping, just go onto the website and purchase it and set it for pickup, and you can swing right through the shop there in Charleston and pick it up. We have the little measuring bottles in stock. We have OPS filters and lab kits in stock. If you want to get an OPS, we're not keeping those in-house just yet because we're kind of the building phase of the shop. But if you would like to get an OPS installed, go to our website and order it. And don't ship it to yourself. Ship it to us. Put it in there for local pickup, and they'll send it to us. And then you can schedule an appointment to come by, and we'll install your OPS right there in the shop. It's 4 hours of labor, so that's $500. And you'll get the OPS unit. You will get 2 lab kits and 3 filters. So we can put 1 filter on to get you started, and then your next 2 services will be covered, and it comes with the install kit. It's $915. Is that right? Yeah. It's $915 for the install kit and the new unit. If you're having emissions problems or you want to avoid having emissions problems, we are an authorized location for diesel force cleaning. And so you can come by and we will diesel force clean your truck. We will run all of the products through the engine, into the fuel, into the oil. We recommend that if you come in for a diesel force cleaning, that once the cleaning is done and we've done a forced regen and we've got everything good, we take the filters out and send those down to DPF Alternatives and have them baked, because the diesel force cleaning will not get rid of the ash. But it gives you basically a brand new emission system that has been cleaned out in every part and has removed all that soot from your engine. So come by and see us. Also, we are an MD alignment shop. So again, go to the website, blueribbonlogistics.com, click on services. You can set an appointment and have Kyle inspect your truck and see if it will take an alignment, because please stop going to these Hunter machines and TAs. That's not an alignment, guys. It's not an alignment. You're wasting your money. You might as well just take $300 out of your pocket and light it on fire. You need a complete, comprehensive inspection of your truck's suspension and steering to make sure that it is capable of holding an alignment. So if you want to do that, go to the website. You can set your appointment there for an MD alignment, for a diesel force cleaning. You can buy an OPS. You can buy Pittsburgh Power, you can buy Max Mileage, and you can get all that at our shop in Charleston, West Virginia. And CAM's Service Center, where we work, is a full service 24/7 shop. So if you need other stuff, CAM's can help you out.
Couple of questions here, not questions, but comments. Sweetness 22058 says only company positions I know of that pay $100K are 1099 companies. Let me correct something here, Sweetness. There's no such thing as a 1099 company. There's no such thing as a company position in a 1099 company. A 1099 is, in fact, the way that you pay an independent contractor. A 1099 company does not exist. There's no such thing as a 1099 company. A business pays another contractor on a 1099 to do the work that that contractor does. If it's an employee, they pay them on what's called a W-2. That's with tax withheld and unemployment and other benefits that are attached to that. So there's no such thing as a company position with a 1099 company. Truck drivers do that because they whore themselves out, because their self-esteem is so low that they think that's the only way they can get a job. So they work for somebody and they pay 15.3% of their tax because they feel so bad about their own self-esteem that that's the only way they think they can get a job. Stop doing that. Okay, stop doing that. If you're going to go work for somebody, get paid on a W-2 and be treated the way you're supposed to be treated. So I made another comment about our profit. Is that before or after wages? Well, let me explain to you what profit is. Profit is what's left over after all expenses. And for most companies I know of, wages is an expense. As a truck owner, the driver is an expense. So yes, profit is after paying the driver. That's just common sense there, okay? That's not even an option. So that question doesn't ever need to be answered again. I'll take that out of your mouth forever, okay? You don't have profit if you don't pay the driver. If paying the driver takes you out of profit position, you don't have a profit and you don't have a business. You have a hobby.
Yep.
There's lots of companies out there that are paying Walmart's the biggest example I know of. Okay. Now y'all don't like Walmart because you know what? They make you take a shower, wear a uniform, and be regimented. Another person said, yeah, you got to drive a lot of miles to make that. Yeah, well, guess what? You got to go to work to make money, okay? You're not going to get a job in trucking and drive no miles to make 100K. You get paid by the mile in trucking, okay? So trying to get a job where you don't have to work, that's not going to happen, all right? That's called charity. But there's lots of companies you can go and make 100K if you'll just go there and prove your value. I made way over 100K as a company driver before I ever started this. Way over 100K. But they didn't guarantee it. I went there and I took the opportunity and I made it.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys just need, this, when I got this mirror out a while ago, this is what we're talking about. Okay. All this truck driver attitude, this is what's costing you money, is all this truck driver attitude that you guys come with, all this bullshit. No one's going to pay you any more than you're worth. Okay. You're going to get paid what you're worth. And if you're worth $1 million, you're going to get paid $1 million. Okay. If you're worth a nickel, you're going to get paid a nickel. Most truck drivers that I've met are worth about 2 cents. Occasionally you'll find one that's worth a lot of money, but most of them that hang out in these Facebook groups and at the counter to Petro are absolutely worthless, completely worthless, because their mentality and their attitude is so backwards that they're non-productive. They want somebody to give them something. Well, that's called welfare, okay? You don't have to hang out at Petro to get that. Go downtown and stand in that line down by the government building. That's where welfare is given out.
There's a great little book called QBQ, The Question Behind the Question. It's probably 20 years old now. And it's a book about personal responsibility, and it's short. You could probably read it in an hour. But it talks about how to change your attitude to make you more responsible. And let me think about it. Instead of asking who, what, and when is somebody else going to do something about my problem, you ask what and how can I do to make the situation better, right? Because if you're not in control of your business, somebody else is going to be, right? And so you have to take the responsibility, and that's why we tell these knuckle draggers to stop complaining about brokers. Brokers are not your problem. If brokers are your problem, if that was true, it's still you, because you don't know how to negotiate your rates. You don't know how to keep a truck running. So when you look around and you see all the people that are making money and you're not making money, why don't you ask the question, what are they doing that I'm not? But if you're just going to do nothing but whine and complain about the brokers or the FMCSA or whoever, whatever boogeyman you're assigning as the problem why your business is not making money, you're never going to succeed. So Inflation Chaser says, so you're making $150,000 per truck after paying the driver. What we're saying is, if you will operate a truck the way we do, which is maximize revenue, minimize expenses, and work full time, like y'all, that's 50 weeks out of the year, 51. That's what I did when I started at Blue Ribbon. As an employee driver, I worked like 51 weeks out of the year, because that's kind of what you do. You work, right? If you'll do that and work full time, after you have paid yourself a salary and all of your expenses are accounted for, and you've saved 25 cents a mile for maintenance, if you'll take your driver pay and add it to your profit, it should be $150,000 or more. Now, if you have set your business up properly and you're taxed as an S corporation, you've only got to pay the self-employment taxes on what you paid yourself as a driver. You don't have to pay that on the rest of that profit, which could be $100,000, right? But that goes to proper setup of your business and understanding how taxes works. And one more thing I want to say about this 1099 deal, y'all. The terms 1099 and W-2 and W-4 and W-9 are terms not created by me, not created by Larry, not created by trucking companies. It was created by the Internal Revenue Service. Those are their terms, okay? So if the IRS invents a term, they're the ones that's going to interpret what that term means. So you can say, oh, well, I can take more deductions as a 1099. You can say that all you want, but it doesn't make it true, because the IRS is the most aggressive, most vicious, most capable, and well-funded collection agency the world has ever known. They will just come and take your money. So if you're such a big, smart truck driver and you're going to take a bunch of deductions that you're not entitled to by their rules, not mine, you're going to go take a bunch of deductions that you are not entitled to, and you do it for long enough, and they catch you, it's not going to be a pleasant conversation. They're not going to be, oh, Billy, listen, we're sorry that you didn't understand. They're just going to come and take your money, and they're going to come and take your stuff because they're vicious, ruthless, and there's no limit to what they'll collect. And if you're one of these snake oil salesmen that convinces truck drivers to be employed on a 1099, let me look y'all right in the face. If you're one of these scum-sucking pieces of shit that runs a trucking business and pays drivers on a 1099 and gets them to pay your taxes, guess what, honey? The IRS is coming for you too. And when they get a hold of your ass, they are going to tear you limb from limb. Okay. So stop just saying stuff that's not true. If you are an employee driver and you don't own a piece of equipment, you're not a 1099. You're not entitled to those deductions. And when the IRS gets a hold of you, you're going to wish to God you had never done it. End rant.
And if you're an employee and you work for somebody and you allow them to pay you on a 1099, you're nothing but a little cheap whore, okay? And to answer your question, hey, Jesus, yes, I have been audited by the IRS. I have had that colonoscopy. Fortunately, it wasn't that bad for me because I don't do shit that is illegal, unethical, and immoral. But still, the process of going through it is not fun.
Tell them the Santa Claus story.
Well, that was, yeah. So y'all probably all know I used to be a professional photographer, and so my studio is located in a mall. And so the mall approached me about doing Santa photos one year, and I said, sure, I'll do it. Okay. Well, I didn't have any Santas because I'd never done Santa photos before. So I hired Santas. All right. Now, Santas, you bring your own suit. I mean, to me, it seemed like a pretty cut and dry thing. I'm not in the Santa business. I'm not, I need you to come and act like Santa. Bring your own Santa suit. I'm going to pay you on a 1099 because I'm not in the Santa business, right? Well, wrong. Okay. And one of the Santas knew this and played me like a fiddle. Okay. He came in, accepted a 1099. As soon as we're done, he fills out a form and complains about it. So the IRS comes knocking on my door. They do a colonoscopy of my business, and they determine that these Santas are not 1099s, that they're employees. And so not only do I have to pay the taxes that I had to pay his taxes, my taxes, and a penalty. So I speak from experience here when I tell you about this 1099 thing. And that was pretty cut and dried, okay? I mean, there's no way that you can say a photographer and a Santa are in the same business, except that we're joining forces here to produce this photograph. But the IRS saw differently, and there was no conversation, okay? It wasn't like, hey, what do you think?
Right.
So, you guys that think that you're going to come out here and just say, well, I'm going to be a 1099. No, you're not. You're not a 1099. You're an employee, okay? It's not, there's no question about it. It's just a matter of how long do you do it before you get, and by the way, if one disgruntled Santa employee drops a dime on you, that colonoscopy doesn't stop with that guy, by the way. Okay, it stops with everybody you've ever hired. So hope you sleep well tonight if you're a 1099 employer, because if somebody drops a dime on your ass, you'll be a long time before you sleep again. Okay.
Yeah, they're ruthless and they're vicious.
And it's all the taxes that you have not paid and everything that those employees should have paid. You're paying both of them, and a pretty substantial penalty.
Now I've got a surprise for y'all, because we talked earlier in the show about we're going to go out to BCO days in Oklahoma in September, and there's going to be a guy, all right, and that guy's going to walk up and argue 1099 with Larry. And this time I'm going to have Larry mic'd up. Okay. I'm going to hide a mic on his shirt, and I'm going to be standing off to the side with a remote wireless microphone. And y'all are going to get to see Larry tear this guy shred. Now, he tore him up in Memphis a couple of years ago, but the guy is just, and I'm sure he'll be there because he can't wait to explain to Larry.
He's healed up since then, I'm sure.
He can't wait to mansplain to Larry how he just doesn't understand, and how it's okay for truck owners to pay company drivers on 1099s. It's precious. Billy Bob Thornton took Larry's money and turned it into a pretty good acting career. Have you seen Bad Santa?
I have.
Oh, it's a great movie.
But guys, listen, if we can do this, you can do it. The only difference between us and you are that we treat this as a business. You treat it as, I don't know how you treat it, but if you will treat it as a business and get serious about it and work on controlling the things that you can control, forget about people that you can't control and trying to take their money, you'd be amazed what you can do here. If we can do this, you can do it. If we're making 150 grand a truck, you can make 150 grand a truck. It's just, they're just numbers. Okay. This is just business. Nothing hard about it. Well, that's not true. It's very, very hard. There's nothing complicated about it.
Right.
But the difference between us and you is going to be whether or not you are willing to reset your mindset. If you're willing to do that, you can change your business. If you're not, and you're going to be a jerk asshole after it's all done, probably not. Because number one, we're not going to work with you. So, but we'd be happy to work with you if you want to be coachable. Shameless plug here. We do have all the trucks we need, but we do have a couple of trucks that could use a driver. So if you are intrigued by this program and you want to learn this from the inside out, the best way to learn this is come get in our program and be a driver in our program, and you'll learn this by immersion. And you'll learn it from muscle memory, because you'll do for us exactly what you're going to do for yourself. And then you see how we do it, and you go, oh, I see how this works now. And while you're here, you're going to be treated properly. You're going to get paid 25% of the revenue on a W-2. And you're going to get huge education, even things you're not thinking about, because, Chris teaches or shares with you his maintenance skills. I can certainly share with you my accounting skills. There's lots of people here that are willing to share with you his platform skills. There's lots of things you can learn here, but you've got to come here with the right attitude. You've got to come here for the right reasons, and you got to be coachable. None of us do this to beat our head against the wall and deal with truck drivers. Okay. So you're not going to come here and be a truck driver. That'll last about 10 seconds. And then you won't be here anymore. But if you want to come here and learn, and you're serious, and you will listen and be coachable, we can turn you into a very, very, very successful truck owner. Or
Anthony on YouTube says, if you have an EIN and you're incorporated, I thought it was legal to get paid on 1099. Well, that would be true if you meet the definition. The IRS literally has a website dedicated to this. There's 21 questions. But if you do not own the equipment that you are driving, you're not a contractor, period. They've been abundantly.
You started that question with, I thought. Fix that. Okay. You don't have to think. There's a thing called Google. And there's a thing called the cloud and the internet that you can go get all this information, and you don't have to think about it. You don't have to listen to some truck driver tell you about it. Do your own research. Call them and ask them. They'll answer those questions. You can do it anonymously.
Mm-hmm.
But that's only 2 of 21 things. You have to have those things to be a contractor, but having those things don't make you a contractor, if that makes sense. If you're driving somebody else's truck and you've got an EIN, it doesn't matter. You're still an employee. Okay, it doesn't matter that you've got an EIN. Anybody in this country can go get an EIN. That's just a piece of paper. But if you still work for somebody else during the day, in their business, you're not. What do you need an EIN for? That's worthless. You're not. You're still. The relationship that you have with that person is that you're an employee.
Right. There's a question here about the shop and about how to get there.
Use your GPS, because I can't get there without it.
Well, let me put this up here. If you
I've
go
been
to
there, I've been there a bunch.
If you go to blueribbonlogistics.com/CAMS, CAMS, we have a site here that has a bunch of information and directions. Now, I want everyone to see this part right here. There is a lot in front of the shop that is not ours to park in. Okay? You cannot park here. An angry little man will come out of the Mountaineer Thermo King and start telling you have to move your truck. Our parking lot is in the back. Okay, so you can park in the back if you come to our lot, but please do not park out front. No parking here. They have a couple of signs, but they're hard to read.
And if you're pulling that lot and you see a little red convertible 2-seater, slow down. I don't like it to be dusty. Okay, don't kick up a bunch of dust. All right.
Yeah. And CAMS is open 24/7, or they're on call 24/7. There's usually somebody there till about midnight. But you know, they do a good job of taking care of customers.
And by the way, BCOs, they are now a Landstar inspection facility.
Yes, you can get you can
and
get
you won't
120
and you won't get failed for stupid shit there. And whatever it needs, they can do the work. You don't have to tow it out of there.
Right. What's up, fellas? I'm looking to install an OPS on my 2016 T680. Can you mention how do you bring the oil back to base level, or can you say what episode will find that? Well, if you're talking about the base number, you're looking to install an OPS. How do you bring the oil back?
The only way you can bring the base back is to add some fresh oil to it. Now they do have a base product right now, but I'm gonna tell you right now, it's very, very, very
thick,
high viscosity. Yeah. I would recommend you just, if your base is off, drop a couple of gallons out and add 2 fresh gallons. It'll bring your base back. That's the easiest way to do it.
We got to make sure that we're on the same vocabulary here, because base is acid level, right? And that's a term. Now, if you're talking about, when you say by base, you mean like what it was out of the bottle. Well, you don't, right?
Just explain your question a little bit better, and maybe don't use that term if you're not talking about acidity.
Yeah, because it says you're looking to install an OPS. Okay, well, an OPS takes oil from the engine from an oil galley and is fed by oil pressure, and then it's dumped back from the OPS back into the oil pan. All right, and so slowly over the course of the day, all of your oil is being filtered through the 5-micron filter and through the heater that helps get rid of liquid contaminants. And so we pull a sample every 25,000 miles, and we send that to a lab, and the lab sends us a report. We had a truck that had, for some reason, had high silicon, which is dirt. And so, the oil only made it about 75,000 miles before we had to dump it. I went over the truck and looked for leaks in the, post filter. But for some reason, the truck was, oil just had lots of dirt in it. So we got rid of it. But there's no reason to dump oil unless you know why it needs to be dumped, right? But it can show you if you've got fuel dilution, which could be indicative of a bad injector or a fuel pump. It can show you if you have liquid contaminants like potassium, sodium, and potassium, which would be indicative of coolant getting in your oil, which would be a head gasket or maybe could be an air compressor, right?
Go to episode 108, and we have an entire episode on the OPS and the features and the benefits. But we highly, highly recommend it. I mean, I used my original truck in that episode as the example. That truck had 1.8 million miles on it when it came off the road, and it had 4 oil changes. And you did not hear me wrong.
Rocky says, add crushed up roll age to the oil to increase base. Rocky,
that's true. That? Yeah, absolutely, that's true.
Okay,
I mean, you're just changing acidity. Rolaids affects acidity. Okay, that actually, if you'll think about it, Chris, you've heard about those filters that have base built into them.
Yeah.
That's all it is crushed up Rolaids. Well, it might not be Rolaids, but it's crushed up whatever Rolaids is made out of. There's a word for that. It's not Alka-Seltzer, but it's some alkaline or something. But that's what it is.
Is that what those were?
Lubrifiner, yeah. They've got base built in. If you put a lubrifiner filter on, you're going to raise the base because in the bottom of the filter is crushed up Rolaids or their equivalent. I probably said something that's not true right there, but
I've learned close enough. It's on the internet. It has to be true.
Yeah, but no, Rocky's he's not wrong. I've heard that. I've seen it, and I do know for a fact that lubrifiner. That's exactly what they do. They just crush up alkalinity in the bottom of that filter.
I don't know if this is G or G. Truck one earlier paid W-2 driver $2,600 before deductions. Yes, that's true. The driver's percentage on that revenue, he gets 25% of the accessorials and 25% of the line haul. His percentage was $2,662. So all of our all of our top 5 trucks, each driver made over $1,700. I mean, 17, 18, 19, 23, and 26. That was their pay that we put into the payroll report, and the payroll company deducted their appropriate taxes and sent them the balance of whatever's left after tax.
And we paid their unemployment. I mean, their unemployment tax for wherever they live. And of course, with Landstar, we're required the workers' comp insurance is also on our tab, not theirs.
Right. So let's see. I can put that back up here. Screen. So yeah. So yeah, the driver pay was $2,662.50.
Now look, most of these drivers here are actually new to the industry. We don't have very many drivers here that have years of experience like Chris and I. So these are relatively new drivers driving regular trucks, pulling regular freight, making this kind of money. Okay. Imagine if you're an experienced driver and you don't make mistakes and you really, really work hard and you really, really, apply yourself, what you can make.
Yep. I mean, a weekly profit, including what the driver was paid for one truck in 1 week in 7 days, $5,498.48.
When I started driving a truck, when I bought my truck, I was on 92 cents a mile mileage contract plus fuel surcharge, which I think was back then was about 32 cents. So I was making probably about less than $1.20 a mile, okay, on a mileage contract. And in 4.5 years, I put $1 million to the truck. So that's just fact. All right. So it can be done. And that was at $1.20 a mile. Talk about shitty rates. Okay.
Well, and I'm going to tell this again, because I was driving for an owner operator, at US Express in 2000. So it's 24 years ago. And I was stupid. Got paid on 1099. I was 24 years old. Got paid on 1099, 25 cents a mile. But he gave me a big, shiny, fast truck. So I didn't care.
That
But
was
the
price
trucks,
that was the whore price for you.
exactly. But the trucks, the contract at that time at US Express was 85 cents per mile, loaded and empty. And I asked the guy one day, I said, man, how do you make any money at 85 cents a mile? And he said, son, anytime he was going to learn you something, the sentence always started with son, profits in the trucking business are measured in pennies, not dollars. There's pennies laying everywhere. You just got to reach down and pick them up. And I've carried that with me every day since, because it is measured in pennies. You know, when you look at this, this calculation that we've put together based off of last week's settlement, we're talking about pennies here. You know, what's the spread? Top truck was a cost of $1.81 and the low cost was $1.33, right?
48 cents.
You know, yeah. So that's the spread, you know, and a bunch of that was that truck's shitty fuel mileage. So, which we're working on fixing. But again, that truck's paid for, right? That truck is paid for many times over. And you know, there's always lots of conversation about all the old trucks versus the new trucks. Well, that top truck right there is the ugliest truck in our fleet. It's a 2006 Freightliner Columbia with a red body and a white hood.
No warranty.
No warranty. But it's got about 100,000 miles on an engine rebuild. And it's a good, solid, mechanically sound truck.
What we pay for it?
He overpaid for it because he bought it at the height of the market. I think he paid 22 for it. So, but at that time in the market, I think if I remember the story right, there were two guys racing each other to get to it. And he bought it for 22 and brought it to us. And boy, you talk about rough. That truck was in rough shape.
This one that came from our friend's lot across the river.
No, this one came out of Wisconsin. Kelly's truck. Came out of Wisconsin, I think, or Illinois, and he brought it to us, and we put a driver in it, and it immediately started using like 4 gallons of oil a week. So it got an express trip to Florida and got an engine rebuild.
I remember that.
But you know, that truck's made a ton of money. It's ugly as homemade sin, but none of that matters because, you know, and now it's pulling a 53-foot flatbed. And so the money's really going to go up now. So, well, let me see. Let me go back to the YouTubes. My employee, okay, this is interesting. My employee is from Arizona, but Gusto has me paying unemployment for Colorado where my business is out of. That's probably right.
That's not unusual. I mean, that's the requirement. I mean, he's working for you. Your business is located in Colorado, so that the only problem with that is that if he wanted to draw unemployment, he would have to come to Colorado to file it. If you paid it in his locale, he wouldn't have to do that. The rate's probably going to be different, but he could file his local thing. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the legalities of that, but at least you're doing it. So I mean, I don't think what you're doing is wrong.
Well, we know this, that Kentucky is what we call a CPP state, contractor protection plan, that we can buy through Landstar.
Well, right? You can use that. You can use that in lieu of workers' comp. Yes.
So it's $33 or $31 a week, or
$31.38 a week. Yeah.
So we had a driver move from Delaware to West Virginia. One of our drivers, right?
Yeah.
Larry gets a call one day. Landstar tries to move the entire fleet, you know, because this one guy,
he put in a change of address. Okay. And so they put in a change of address for me, for my fleet. I'm like, whoa. West Virginia is not a CPP state. No, we're not doing that. You know.
Yeah, that would have been ugly. Let's see.
Now,
You
okay.
hire
First of all, congratulations for doing the right thing and having unemployment on your employee. And the fact that it's paid to yours, I don't think. I mean, the only thing is they have to understand that if something happens and they wanted to file, they would have to come to your unemployment office in your locale to do so. That's the only thing.
yeah, probably.
Right.
Do you hire with auto restrictions? Very, very
Well,
limited. Right now, we
first of
have
all,
two.
understand. We do not hire. Period. We have people come in our program that have auto restrictions if we have a truck for them to drive. And that's a big if because we only have a couple and both of those now have auto restriction drivers in it. So it would just depend on our availability. We're not going to go get a truck for you to come here. Well, we might if you're really, 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 really good. But let's use the right terminology. We're not going to hire to begin with. I mean, we're not. We're gonna hire you to drive our truck while you're in the program, but you're not going to come here to get a job. Let's just make sure we understand that. We're going to treat you as a W-2 employee because that's what you are. But you're here to learn the business of trucking, not to drive a truck.
So if you want to do that, go to blueribbonlogistics.com, click on the masterclass, and please read every word. Read it all the way to the bottom, and then click on apply for the masterclass, and it will have you answer a bunch of questions. And then you'll submit that. We will go over that. We'll review it, decide whether or not we want to give you an opportunity for an interview. And then we'll have a Zoom interview where we'll ask a lot more questions. But as he said, we've only got 2 automatics. No, that's not. Well, we have 2 automatics, but we've only got 1 auto restricted driver right now. So we do potentially have.
Oh, that's true. We have, one of our auto restricted drivers is restricted more than that now.
Yeah.
Inside.
Well, and let me roll back to this workers' comp thing with Ryan on YouTube. I do pay the $69 for FWCP for her and through Landstar, federal workers' comp. Yeah, you're going to have. I mean, if Gusto, because I used Gusto when I had a little LLC set up for doing dispatching and stuff, and I used Gusto to pay myself a little salary. But I would challenge that because if you're paying for that through Landstar, you shouldn't have to pay it because, okay, think about pay data, right? If you come to pay data and say, hey, I'm going to pay these employees, and they're like, okay, well, we got to set up workers' comp. Well, no, I don't have to set up workers' comp because I've got it over here, right?
No. The payroll company does not. Workers' comp is set up with your insurance company, not with a payroll company. So if you're paying it through Landstar, I don't think you have to worry about it with Gusto.
Yeah, I would challenge that because you'd be double paying. I mean, if you've got workers' comp coverage through Landstar, you shouldn't have to pay it as a part of your payroll. The payroll company just may assume. Well, I remember when I set up Gusto, they asked me a bunch of questions about workers' comp, right? And wanted me to go and then connect to the state and all this kind of stuff. So you might fleet workers' compensation.
I would make sure that Gusto knows that you're paying for workers' comp through Landstar.
Oh, Blake says make sure Gusto sees them as a remote employee. Otherwise, it will always file locally. So, yeah, I think you've got some research to do. You're probably going to have to reach out to Gusto and make sure they understand that there's a workers' compensation being paid through the carrier and that you shouldn't have to pay double workers' comp. How often do y'all go live? Every Friday night? Well, we do the podcast, which is what you're seeing here. We do this every Friday night at 8:00 Eastern. And then I do lives on TikTok, usually like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. I'll get on here and we'll talk. We do a payroll report every Wednesday. And then we also will, include that in Friday's show. So make sure you're it's not subscribed. What do you call it? Follow. Make sure you follow us on the TikTok and turn on those notifications so you'll see.
Chris,
when
I need you to run the show for a second. I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay. I guess I can do that. Let's see here. Do you hire drivers that only speak Spanish? Well, unfortunately, no, because I can't speak Spanish. So that creates a difficulty. I also can't speak Florida, as we found out, because we hired a guy that was from Bogota, Colombia, and we were concerned because English wasn't his first language, and so we were like, gosh, what if there's a language barrier? And there wasn't. But when we hired Richie from Florida, I couldn't understand a word he was saying. I wish I could speak Spanish. I'm really upset that my so-called education growing up didn't teach me how to speak to such a significant percentage of this population. Can you make more than $150,000 a year working for the Blue Ribbon? No, because there's not enough money. You're on 25%. You're working full time. You're probably going to do 100. It's somewhere between 80 and 110 if you really, really hustle as while you're in the program. But when you are when you buy your own truck, which is the goal, we don't want you to come here and stay forever. I want you to come for the 18 months, and then I want you to leave. And I want you to go buy your own truck, and I want you to be a successful owner-operator. I don't want you to stay here forever. I want you to come in and get what you can. I want you to take in his 50 years of business and my 27 years of trucking, and I want you to go fly and be free, and we'll kick you out of the nest at some point. You can stay longer than 18 months if you need to, but we're not looking to, have you here as a long-term career. This is a short-term. This is like a master's program. You're going to come in, we're going to give you an incredible amount of information and experience, and then you're going to leave.
With our blessings.
Sometimes not.
Well, if you're here 18 months, you'll leave with our blessings. If you leave before that, you'll know it wasn't with our blessings.
Right. So, Messy Marvin, I've been driving 24 years. Well, Marvin, I'm gonna caution you right now. Okay, let me look you right in the face here, Marvin. I'm gonna caution you. Okay, because one problem we have two problems. We have people that are brand new that don't know jack, right? Don't know how to shift, don't know how to read a map. That's a separate set of issues. And then we have highly experienced drivers that won't listen to a damn thing we have to say. They want to keep talking about, well, this is how I've always done it. Well, I don't give a shit how you've always done it. You're not here to teach me how you do things. You're here to come and learn how I do things, and you're going to stop doing the things you've always done that bring about problems, and you're going to start doing the things that we tell you to do. We've had a couple of old school truckers show up, and it never ended well because they won't listen. And they're not coachable, and they just want to tell me, well, this is how I've always done it. Well,
you can brag about yourself and say a lot of things, but 24 years as a driver did not do you any favors, okay?
Correct. So, yeah.
Brag about being a father for 24 years or something else, but driving a truck for 24 years does not get you in any good favor here. Matter of fact, it's scary.
Did I just lose him? Hey, can't hear you. Uh-oh. Thomas, you're saying you can't teach an old dog new tricks? I have been spending the last, let's see, how long have I been with Blue Ribbon? I've spent the last 6 years trying to teach an old dog new tricks. And of course, you can't see it right now because he somehow disconnected his microphone from the computer. He keeps tapping on it and nothing's happening. I don't know what he's done. I can see him. He's trying like hell, but he's not getting through. Check. Can you hear me?
How about that?
There you go.
Hit the mute button.
That comment came up at the perfect time. All right. Well, what do we got here? Well, good God, we got 2.5 hours. I think that's enough. So,
Do we answer all the questions?
I believe so. I've gone through them. So again, keep up on us. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and hit the like button and all that stuff. Make sure you're following us on TikTok. We're going to increase our visibility and our production on social media. If you are interested in joining the masterclass, please go to the website, read all about it, fill out the form, and we will get in touch. Make sure you're watching your email because I'm going to send you an invitation to set an appointment. I get lots of times people send me, they fill out the form and I get the submission and I send out the invitation and nothing happens. Does MD Alignment have a location in Alabama? Probably, but I'm going to tell you to go to Jacksonville, Florida, Central Michigan, Kansas City, or Charleston, West Virginia, because those are the 4 people that I know for sure will do a proper MD alignment. There's a bunch of people on that website that have bought the equipment, but it's hard to tell if they actually know what they're doing. Jacksonville, Charleston, Michigan, Kansas City.
Chris, there's a question here to me from one. Hey, Mr. Larry, can you show us around your office and explain how your typical days are? Well, do you mean like if you come and get in the program, can you do that? And the answer to that would be yes. You can come sit next to me, and you can spend your days with me if you want to. But as far as on this podcast, I doubt that wouldn't. First of all, the community standards thing would probably get kicked us off. But my days. I mean, look, I'm a numbers guy. Okay, I do a lot of data entry. My days are pretty boring, actually. Honestly, which I like. I like boring days, but I pay Chris to take care of all the excitement. I just take care of the stuff that is boring. But no,
Yeah.
you're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, anybody in the program that's in the program is welcome to come spend time with me. And ask whatever you want. I mean, that's what we're here to do, is to share with you. So, I don't think I could walk you around during the podcast and show you much, but I mean, my office is right behind me. Right behind me I'm in front of my desk as we speak. My office is temporarily dislocated up into our dining room. I'm sitting at the dining room table, and my desk in my office is right behind me as we speak. So that's where I spend my day, either on a computer or talking on the phone or, talking with Chris.
Yeah. All right, y'all. We will be back with you next Friday on YouTube. We'll be back with you hopefully about every day on TikTok. So everybody stay connected and